Today, I think we need to dedicate some time to a car that really deserves it because honestly, I'm ready to get it out of here. As you guys may know, I have a thorn in my side Nissan 300ZX convertible that I am ready to get finished so I can, in turn, finish my slick top, getting it repaired, and just move on with this whole situation that I have found very less than favorable. So basically, you can see my car's gone. I don't have my car out. But we have got a convertible hidden back in this garage. So basically we've finally got to keep this out of the weather since we got this new house. We've got the secondary garage. Technically we could almost fit 2 cars in here if we really wanted. You definitely could turn them sideways and pack 2 in here. So I've grabbed a couple parts from the barn that I've brought here to hopefully be able to fix this vert, or at least fix the issues that I've been having. So I've been suspecting almost that I have a bad wheel bearing. My brakes constantly rub, but this is, I think, with a combination of a bad master cylinder. So I don't really have any brake pressure, but my brakes smell really bad. They feel really bad when I press on the brakes, and it shakes really bad. It just has this awful noise. You can check back a few videos ago when we did drive this last. And so we're gonna try to eliminate that. We're gonna lift it up, check the wheel bearing, just make sure everything's all right. The reason I suspect the wheel bearing is bad is you can see by this fender here, this car actually had the wheel fall off at some point and it crunched down. The bottom of the old rotor was ground off. Now we've got new rotors on it, new brake pads that went with those said rotors, and it's still making this horrendous noise and very strong brake dust smell. I want to get this car squared away so Eric can drive it and have it with no complaints or issues. And we also are going to do a new style fuel injector conversion on this car. We get to do a few good things to this car that need done. Hopefully we can bring it back to its former glory. Eric definitely will when he paints it, that's all I gotta say, but for now, mechanical wise, we need to get it back to its former self. We actually have to go up the road to get fitted for a tux for a wedding. So unfortunately, I gotta go take care of that first. Then we'll come back and get started. Until then. Now we're back. Let's grab the jump pack, throw it on here, fire it up. It should just fire it up. I don't even know if I have my second one here. Dang, dude. Well, that just put a whole monkey wrench in my plans today. I was wanting to just fire this thing up, and I guess we can throw a different battery in it, I guess. I don't know. We're not screwed. We'll be back. It's been a little bit longer than I anticipated. So far, we've ran through 2 different batteries. In the process, we broke the eyelet that puts the accessory power wire for the whole cabin on the power wire or power terminal. Well, we just had to crimp one on, took the battery out of our 4-seater. So I've actually never fired this thing up without a jump pack on it, to be honest. Never have I had a full battery on this car. Let's see. Oh, thought it was gonna stay like that. That was horrendous. Let's let it warm up a little bit, idle for a minute, and then we'll pull it up into the shop. Good thing it's a warm day because it's already getting warm. Look at how much this thing shakes when I go to take off. What the heck even is that, man? Unlike anything I've ever felt. I don't know. Well, we're in here now. Let's not give ourselves carbon monoxide poisoning. Oh, I just realized we're kind of getting that line effect. Shout out to Chris Scott. We got one of your lights hooked up, significantly brighter. Has 3 different brightness settings, as well as 3 different like wattage settings or whatever. So that's super cool. Definitely brightens it up in here. He actually came to pick up some parts and he said that he couldn't stand how dark it was in the videos, and he gave me some lights to, you know, help brighten it up. Unfortunately, we didn't get to use them for that purpose, but we have them here in the new shop. So the first order of operations today is we're actually going to lift the nose of the car up where we can get this wheel off the ground and we can shake it and hopefully be able to replicate the wheel bearing issue. If it's a wheel bearing, it should have play all around the wheel theoretically, so hopefully we'll be able to eliminate this. So I'm not gonna lie, I've been recording a video for the Z on my daily. I don't think it's making the cut. Since I've been so spotty recently on just getting the house done, I don't think the video is going to make any sense. So we're just going to cut it. We actually had a bunch of rattles going on with our daily squeaks and whatnot that we were going to situate, but we actually had a little reveal in the beginning of that video. That's why the 240 is all cocked over in here. We actually went up and picked up some wheel dollies from Harbor Freight so we can roll the car around wherever we want. And we also grabbed something else very big for the channel. Maybe not necessarily, but it's a huge tool for me. We actually grabbed us a brand new Low Pro jack. This thing's a 1.5 ton, I think. It does the job, but I need it to lift higher to get me up on these blocks so I can leave my old jack at the other house and still be able to lift cars over there. So in theory, if this thing's bad at all, we should feel it pretty easily. So as we shake it, we're really not getting any play. Definitely nothing up and down. The side and side almost just feels like the slop in the steering wheel going back and forth. Well, that's really frustrating because I was pretty solid that I figured out what we needed to do. I guess we can check the other side. What else do we got to lose here? Well, this side definitely has some play in it. I'm not sure how well that picks up on the GoPro, but yeah, there's definitely some up and down play. Well, that's mad annoying because I didn't bring that hub. That's a little frustrating. Here we have a nice driver's side hub or spindle assembly. Honestly, at this point with this roadblock, I'm almost feeling that we're gonna have to move this, you know, to the fuel injectors. I don't know what else to do here. I thought we were gonna have good progress today, but hopefully maybe we can get under the car and figure it out later. But let's get some tools ready to start pulling our plenum. Well, it's actually the next day. I know, unfortunate, right? Well, I forgot all my GoPro batteries at my other house. So what a perfect opportunity today than to go get our batteries, go get our brake master cylinder, and go get, I don't even remember. We need something else, but we need to go get it. We'll think of it on the way. So one of the noises we're dealing with is actually an atrocious exhaust leak. You can definitely hear it here. When you're driving like by stuff with walls or short walls, you can hear the echo real bad. Sounds terrible. We also found the source of our shifter rattle or tap. So we actually broke these two bolts trying to remove it. But when I shim it up with this zip tie, it actually doesn't rattle. But I think the actual shifter itself is rattling right here on the support for this dust boot. So currently we just kind of raise that up to keep that from making contact. The other thing is I think I have a transmission mount where my heat shields to my test pipes are rattling bad. So we're going to see if we can kind of eliminate these. I found out part of this rattle has to do with this not being snug or tight. It's got too much play. If it was like this, it wouldn't move as much if it was totally tight. So yeah, that's gotta be audible there. It just squeaks, pops, cracks. Yep, that's about the general consensus of what I've been dealing with the past 6 months. This is potentially what our next video is going to be sorting out. Oh, that dust. So I'm not going to let what just happened be the foreshadowing of my day, but we just took the golf cart to go grab a coffee. We blew a tire on the golf cart. No longer than it took for me to come out of Dollar General and see, like, oh, that looks low. Of course, it blows up on the way home. So here is one of my parts Z's. As you guys remember, surely, my old drift chassis that is absolutely clapped in every way, shape, or form. Well, since our lines are all still hooked up here, we're actually going to attempt to take this brake master cylinder, and we're also going to take another one that's in the garage or the shop as a backup. Well, isn't that like the cutest little 12 mil wrench you've ever seen? Oh man. All fresh, removed, literally fresh. This thing's like brand new. Ooh, dumb, Caden. You idiot. So I think we've got about everything that we need. So we're just gonna close up shop here. We've spent way too much time over here. So let's head back to the house and get to work. I did grab some extra just in case so we can test for that terrible vibration in the rear. We actually brought a one-piece steel drive shaft so we can test and eliminate that. But we're all loaded up. Let's head back home. Sorry about the fan. If that becomes a little annoying today, I'm gonna be forced to use it. It's been really warm the past couple of days, so this is gonna be our saving grace until fall really sets in. Holy, oh man, I just burnt the crap out of my hand. Oh my gosh. That was one of them things that's so heavy. What do? I already picked it up. I just gotta cook myself. The paint came off the thing. That was a clean drive shaft. Holy cow. Now we've got everything out the trunk. I think it's time we just go ahead and park the Z back in the garage to keep it out the sun. Well, I was going to do a little snap back where it was, but we actually have a really sweet looking praying mantis over here. So we're going to start pulling the plenum and get access to our injectors. I do have a full video on this for any of you guys interested. I do go over it pretty in depth and show you guys how to do it, tips and tricks. And I just remembered one of the worst parts of this. I actually have to shave the plenum right up here on cylinder 1 so we can fit the new style injector connector. I'm not going to do a time lapse pulling this off, maybe when we put it back on. Let's just go ahead and pull everything off because I've done this a million times for you guys and I hate to just make another video of pulling the plenum. Now we got the whole plenum off, everything's officially disconnected. Well, we have access to our fuel injectors now. So we are going to take a 10 mil and we're going to remove all 6 of the bolts holding the rail to the lower plenum. And then we also have one ground right here by the rear cylinder, as this holds your knock sensor connection. You just need to take your little braided ground off and you're good to go. Pop that up and pull the rail out. We will be reusing these lower seals, so we're going to take all 6 of those and swap them to this rail. But first we need to install our injectors in the rail. Check out what we found when we pulled these fuel injectors out. So we had 2 that were new style, but they have cheap eBay pentools on them. Makes me wonder if they're legit. Also, look at that cap. It has 2 O-rings on it. Doubled up the O-rings. I'm surprised this did not leak or have any issues, honestly. I'm baffled. So now we're pretty much almost done with our fuel injector rail, except I wanted to show you guys at least one of these while we have one fuel injector left to do. So here is your adapter cap. You're going to put this on the end of your injector towards the tip. So what you want to do is lube this O-ring up. I use oil, you can use Vaseline, whatever. The oil will degrade. Lube it up, pop it on. Now we're going to lube this lower O-ring and the upper O-ring. Now we take the injector while it's all lubed up, place it in the desired cylinder, and as you push in, you want to twist it. Apply even constant pressure and it should pop in. If it pops in, I always pop it back out. Make sure to get your lower O-ring back on because it will get stuck down here in the fuel rail. I'll lube it up one more time and I'll also inspect each of these O-rings for any pinch in the O-ring so we make sure we don't pinch it, reinstalling it, and then flooding our cylinder, hydrolocking our motor, or absolutely destroying our engine. Much easier that second time. Take our injector cap and snug it down. So if you can't get it popped in, you definitely can snug it down with the injector cap to pop it into place. I like to do that evenly on both sides, but when I do this, I always pull the injector out, examine all of my O-ring, and make sure it's not pinched. The last thing you want to do is ruin your motor over a little $2 to $3 O-ring. Ta-da! I always recommend to put your seals on your actual fuel rail instead of down in the intake, So that way they're actually uniform and where they need to be once you place it in the intake. If not, it's easy to fold the upper lip of the seal. Also, make sure you have all your insulators here in between your actual fuel rail, and you absolutely need those on both sides. So let's go ahead and swap all this out, because next I really have to get into soldering some wires. I'm not going to show any of that, but basically we have to get rid of all of these old style square injector plugs. Fresh new injectors installed with the adapter kit, all oiled up, no O-rings pinched, just how we want it. So before we move on, like I said, I do need to solder all those. We're actually going to do those MIA in a moment. However, we actually bought a car last night, or 2 days ago, both, whatever, and it's actually one of our old cars. Not going to talk too much about it, but let's just say it spun a rod from oil starvation and then oil overfill. Maybe some of you guys in the groups will be able to figure this out, seeing my car on there, but we're actually maybe gonna fix that thing up and sell it. If not, we'll part it. But we're actually gonna use that to fix our green twin turbo, make it a full running and driving car. And we're gonna keep that thing on the road instead of parting it out like we thought. Thankfully, this has a tan interior, so we can hit 2 birds with 1 stone with this car, and we can hopefully make some more cash in the end so we can fund all of these projects and, you know, keep the ball rolling. That's what we need to do, let's be honest. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to grind this down right here so we can get that cylinder 1 injector plug to actually go onto the injector. Now we have these carbide bits basically in our drill, and that's all we got to do is just gradually sit here and shave this down until we get clearance to allow the connector to plug in. So this is going to be pretty tedious. Wow, that's what you want to watch out for, because I cannot ruin this gasket. Looks like I got to peel this little black secondary layer off, but whew, that was close. This is the total amount of shavings that we have totally shaved off the Plenum. That's honestly a lot. So we got it mocked up over here. We went ahead and got the driver's side PCV hooked up, and well, we actually have room to fit our connector. Yeah, we could have rounded it out a little bit more, made it a little bit deeper and smoothed it up, but the connector fits, and we got the green light to put everything back together. I actually need to find some electrical tape so I can wrap these up. I couldn't get the shrink wrap, but only 1 wire, so I got to wrap one of them to the other. So we're gonna get this all tied up, and we should be ready to put it all back together. Man, this heat has got me out of breath out here. It's just constantly hot and muggy, like I can't catch up with my breath. So let's get all this hooked back up, and hopefully we can move on from this step of all this. We've officially got it all back together. Thankfully, we had the supervisor here today to make sure that I was doing everything in the right order, and we got everything done pretty good. Well, it's actually the next day if you can't tell. We had a few things to do last night because A, we found out we had no electrical tape. So we had to run to Lowe's, which thankfully I'm only 3 minutes away from all these stores now instead of 20 minutes one way. So really saves me a lot of time, and I can get better products. I don't have to get like Harbor Freight stuff, like electrical tape where you get 10 rolls for 10 bucks. Now I can get like 3M tape for a roll for $4. It works so much better, doesn't it, Tana? Yep. Still trying to make sure I did my job right. So basically everything's back to how it was, with the exception of a battery. I think we're gonna crank this thing over, make sure it fires up. But before we move on and try to fire this thing up, I wanna show you guys something. Honestly, I wanna say thank you, because as of today, it's like September 12th, and we hit our sub goal for the end of this year already. We just hit 2,500 subs, so thank you guys so much. I'm honestly baffled. When it hit July and we hit 2,000, I couldn't believe it, because at the beginning of the year when we hit 1,000, I was a little skeptical, you know, being optimistic, we should say, and thankfully I was, because we pulled it off. Thank you guys. So now we're just gonna ride out the rest of the year, and I'm not really gonna make a new sub goal for now. I don't know, maybe 3,000? I don't know, it never even came to my mind. So anything that happens, I'm super happy and thankful for. Well, in real time here, you can definitely see. Thank you guys again. Even Tana said thanks, you little yawner. So we're going a little unorthodox about it. We've got both our jump packs on. I just want to fire this thing up just to see if it idles better. That's it. So basically, we'll just throw this thing out of gear so we don't skirt it off and totally total this thing, especially after all the work we put into it. I guess we're gonna fire this thing up a few more times, just see if it persists, and we'll be back once we get some lunch and finish, I guess, moving on to the brake master cylinder. I hope it works. At least it's new. So we just vacuum pumped all the fluid out of there with my vacuum pump over there that I use to bleed brakes. Actually, it works great for many other reasons. And well, we actually vacuumed all that out so that way we have the least amount to drip out of our lines down here, so we risk getting less on the paint. I'm hoping now we can make less of a mess because of that, but I guess since I already got these loose, I probably need to loosen those two 12 volts first. These shouldn't be 2Cs since I had them all off at one point. Dang, I just realized the GoPro wasn't even rolling. I had to get all quick with it and pull it out to make sure we didn't spill too much. Thankfully, we didn't. But let's go ahead and install this new one. Well, pretty much new, I would say. Thankfully, this one's had plenty of time to drain out. Well, that's not doing us much good in there, is it? Let's just tighten up both of our flare nuts, get our master cylinder fully mounted, and then we can go ahead and start filling it up with some fluid. And now for the fun part. I guess the fun part's just filling it up, because bleeding brakes is definitely not fun. Guess now we're gonna lift the rear up with the jack, pull some wheels off, and start bleeding some brakes. I need to check my factory service manual to remember exactly what wheel. I'm pretty sure it's this wheel, that wheel, then this wheel, then that wheel. Now we've got the car lifted up in the rear, got the wheel off. We've got a tube going from back here on the bleeder down into a submerged cup of brake fluid. Just cracking it enough to let the pressure out when we pump the pedal. Let's see how the pedal feels. We're getting fluid. So we're pretty much just pumping this as much as we can to get all air bubbles through the system and ensure that we basically just have a fully bled hydraulic system. So pretty much we're doing it here the solo way. That's by submerging this. I've done this for many cars by myself. I don't always have help, but just doing this, make sure you keep an eye on your reservoir, ensuring you're not running your master cylinder low, because the last thing you want to do is draw air back in the system and have to start over completely. So let's keep doing this to all four corners until we get good brake pressure, and we'll be back once we get an idea of what's going on. Now we're ready to put the drive shaft in, and this is the one we went and picked up in Chicago. So theoretically there should be nothing wrong with it. Keyword should be. Since we're on a stock setup, we've got to pull both of these off, which is going to be probably the worst part because we have to hold this over at the same time. So for now, let's just prioritize taking these off. Oh, e-brake definitely needs to go on tighter. We're moving the car. There we go. One down, 3 to go. Got all them dudes out. Now we're down. Man. Of course, this is the only extension that I've got. I think it's way too long. Let's go see if we got something maybe half that size. Hopefully we'll have some luck. Luck's been had. We think we could get them out. Now we gotta manage actually getting it out. Well, that was a lot easier than expected. Let's be real, you guys get what's going on here. We're just gonna slide it up between my double straight pipe. It cracks me up every time I get under here. And we'll install this bad boy. Now it's hard to see, but we've got pretty much all our hardware in, with the exception of our last bolt here. Drive shaft is fully bolted up. We just gotta snug it up. And we can fire this thing up and drive it to the other garage 30 feet. See if our wobble's gone, see how it runs and drives, and how does it stop. We'll find out. But first, that means we have to lay it or sit it back on the ground. Oh, that brake pedal feels significantly better. Wow. Sounds good. Fortunately, our plates are expired, so we're just gonna kind of drive it around back here and see how it acts. Now when I punch the gas, it's not as responsive, it kind of stumbles. So I don't know, we obviously have some more to check out, but let's just drive this kind of back here and see what we're working with. These brake wise and vibration. So the vibration's significantly less, but it's still shaky. I'm starting to think that might be diff bushings. Yeah, that's definitely going to be diff bushings. It stops like a top though. Wow. Yeah, that's just as shaky and vibrating. So drive shaft's not the problem. Yeah, holy cow, why is that so bad? It shakes the entire car, man. I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do. I should have just used it for parts to begin with. Well, I've got to admit, I'm pretty frustrated at this point. Not that I already haven't been, let's be real. The car runs a little funny. I do need to do a power balance test to make sure it's firing on all 6. I guess realistically, I should probably do a compression test just to make sure this motor's in good shape overall and that we're not doing all this for absolutely nothing, but who knows. I'm honestly at the point I wouldn't mind just driving it off a bridge somewhere. Not with me in it, obviously, but that's how I feel. We're closing up shop and we're done. I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna have to think long and hard about this one. I'm thinking that the diff bushings are just totally trash from when it was in Brad's wreck, because this is his subframe. It's honestly his full dropout assembly, so that drive shaft was pretty kinked in there. Diff bushings are really probably shot. That's kind of where I'm gonna lean to for that vibration. Brakes are fixed. They feel phenomenal compared to what they did. I don't know if they're still grinding and just making that terrible brake smell that they were originally when I would drive it. We at least crossed one thing off the list today, and honestly we've got a solution for another, and that is diff bushings, so that's kind of a bummer. Fuel injectors, they're done. I thought I would be able to start this new shop out with a good note and getting this car going and kind of fixed up. Been talking to Eric not only about this, but about another car he wants me to work on, so I may just have to throw cash in on top of this whole ordeal, or who knows. We may just have to start from scratch with a whole new motor or something. Definitely still got a lot of work to put in this thing, so it's not going anywhere. We're gonna wrap up the video here. There's not really much else to say. You guys know my frustration and where I'm at right now, so hopefully we can figure something out for the Vert here and we don't have to resort to drastic measures. But thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.